of Church. Nice and quiet. Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting to order and request Supervisor McDivitt lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Conover?
Here.
Mr. Leggett?
Here.
Mr. Diamond?
Here.
Mr. McDevitt?
Here.
Ms. Bramer? Here. Mr. Bruno?
Here.
Mr. Driscoll?
Here.
Mrs. Frazier? Here. Mr. Simpson?
Here.
Ms. Hogan?
Here.
Mr. Dickinson?
Here.
Mr. Merlino?
Here.
Mr. Stroud?
Here.
Mr. Weil?
Present.
Mr. McGowan?
Here.
Ms. Seaver? Here. Mr. Beatty?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Kepler? Here. Mr. Garrity?
Here.
Quorum is present.
Okay, thank you. We have privilege of the floor extended to Congresswoman Stefanik, Senator Little, and Assemblyman Dan Steck. I'm not sure if any of them are with us. Okay. Very good. Next item is a motion to approve the minutes of the October 14th, 2020 board meeting and the November 6th special board meeting, subject to correction by the clerk, moved by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Garrity. I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. At this time, we have a public hearing on the Warren County Sewer District, so I will declare the public hearing open on the Warren County Sewer District Industrial Park Assessment Roll and request that the clerk reads the notice of the public hearing aloud.
The Warren County Sewer District Industrial Park has completed its annual assessment of the cost of the increase and improvement of facilities apportioned to the Warren County Sewer District by reason of the intermunicipal agreement for South Queensbury Avenue Sanitary Sewer District. A benefit to tax roll for 2021 has been completed showing the annual assessment on the lots and parcels of land in the Warren County Sewer District in proportion to the benefit with each lot or parcel will derive therefrom. The assessment roll describes each lot or parcel of land in such manner that it may be ascertained and identified and shows the name or names of the reputed owners and owners thereof, together with the aggregate amount of assessment levied upon each lot or parcel of land. A copy of said assessment roll is available for inspection during regular business hours by contacting the clerk of the Board of Supervisors at the below stated address and may be viewed on the Warren County website. Pursuant to Resolution Number 394 of 2020 adopted by the Warren County Board of Supervisors, a public hearing will be held by the Warren County Board of Supervisors at the Board of Supervisors meeting room in the Warren County Municipal Center, 1340 State Route 9, Queensbury, New York, on the 20th day of November 2020 at 10 a.m., at which time and place said Board of Supervisors will hear and consider any objections that may be made to the assessment roll. Note, due to COVID-19 pandemic, which has caused the closure of the Warren County Municipal Center building to the public, this hearing will be held by a Zoom video conference. Those wishing to speak during the public hearing must contact the clerk of the Board of Supervisors to receive an invitation to the meeting. Comments can also be submitted by email or in writing to 1340 State Route 9, Lake George, New York, 12845, no later than November 19th, or through the chat feature of the live stream video offered during the meeting through the Warren County's YouTube page. We have not received any requests for anyone who wants to speak or any written comments.
Okay. Mr. Lehman, do we have any comment from anyone from the public?
We do have extensive public comment on the from members of the Zero Waste Committee. Do you want that now, or do you want that later in the meeting? It's your choice, obviously.
No, but I will leave this public hearing open, and I will also declare that the public hearing open on the 2021 tentative budget, and request the clerk read the notice of the public hearing.
Notice is hereby given that the budget officer of the County of Warren has prepared and filed a proposed budget for fiscal year 2021 and that the Board of Supervisors will meet in the Supervisors Room at the Warren County Municipal Center on the 20th day of November 2020 at 10 a.m. for the purpose of holding a public hearing on the tentative budget of the County of Warren for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2021, and that at such hearing, any person may be heard in favor of or against the tentative budget as compiled, or for or against any items therein contained. Note, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which has caused the closure of the Warren County Municipal Center building to the public, this hearing will be held via Zoom video conference. Those wishing to speak during the public hearing must contact the clerk of the board by email to receive an invitation to the meeting. Comments can also be submitted by email or mail or in writing to 1340 State Route 9, Lake George, New York 12845, no later than November 19, 2020. Copies of said tentative budget are available for inspection during regular business hours by contacting the clerk of the Board of Supervisors at the above stated address and may be viewed on the Warren County website. Pursuant to Section 359 of County Law, the maximum salaries that may be fixed and payable during the fiscal year 2021 to members of the Board of Supervisors and to the chairman thereof are hereby specified as follows. Members of the Board of Supervisors, $18,267 each. Chairman of the Board of Supervisors, $22,654. Further notice is hereby given that the following is a summary of the tentative budget of Warren County for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2021. Gross appropriations of $158,785,042, less the amount of $630,140, which includes interfund revenues and surplus appropriated but does not include sales tax credit, leaving a balance of $46,153,902 to be raised by taxation.
Thank you. I'll extend the privilege of the floor to the public. Don, you do have some comments from some people?
We do not have comments on the budget. We do, as I said, have comments on the from the Zero Waste Committee members, and I'm not sure at what point you want to take that.
Okay. Do the comments relate to either the budget or the sewer district?
No, they relate more to the solid waste plan than the budget itself.
Okay, I'll take it.
Okay.
Budget issue.
Okay, we'll start with one from Elizabeth Crawford, who is a member of the Zero Waste Committee. I have some budgetary suggestions that could help Warren County streamline the solid waste stream in the county. There are many trash haulers involved in hauling solid waste in Warren County. Currently, there is no oversight and no enforcement of the laws which were passed by the Board of Supervisors in 1991. Warren County could finance a position at the county level to provide enforcement of the county's solid waste laws that are already on the books, as well as data collection from the haulers. This position could be financed through a fee of $10 per ton of solid waste levied on the haulers. To do this, the county would have to get a grip on which haulers are picking up how much solid waste. The City of Troy recently took this step and stands ready to inform and assist Warren County in what needs to be done. Would the relevant supervisors and staff meet by Zoom with the City of Troy's Director of Recycling and members of the Zero Waste Committee? That's a question. Really, this is not a difficult process. It only looks difficult because Warren County hasn't tried it before. Several other counties and municipalities throughout New York State have done it, and it is working for them. It looks complex, but following in the steps of these people, Warren County can move into a more efficient way of dealing with its solid waste. Thank you for your opportunity to comment. Elizabeth Crawford, Glens Falls. Now we've got one from a Joy Keith line. Thank you for meeting and discussing the present situation which every community across the country is facing. We know what the problem is, but the solution is multifaceted as it involves industry, society, and various mindsets. When we agree that the consequences we now face are only going to get worse, that is more unhealthy people on a less hospitable planet, it behooves us to think in a more sustainable approach to waste. It's complex, but there are solutions. So consider including in your budget a waste czar for whom recycling, composting, repurposing, and less food waste are meaningful objectives that can be met. Consider the role of industry and its irrefutable contribution to the problem, especially in plastic packaging. And consider the carcinogenic products that people are seduced into buying due to advertising. Yes, bees too are to be considered, and their demise due to our callous use of pesticides, both directly and indirectly, is very much a part of this evolution of change. Let's put Glens Falls on the global map of sustainable cities who care about the future of our planet. We can start by shutting down the incinerator that is shortening our lives, demanding that industry is mindful of the waste stream they are creating, and the numerous ways we can manage waste that is less polluting and even beneficial to the air, water, and soil. Thanks for making the bold decisions to make our town healthy and more sustainable. Peace and harmony, Joy Keithline. This is from Mary Beth Milet of Bolton Landing, who said she has prior commitments and couldn't attend the hearing. I audited the Warren County Solid Waste Planning meeting on August 20th, which discussed the Warren County Solid Waste Management Plan for the next decade. On page 16 of the R.S. Lynch report, the authors claimed data gaps and additional information required. During the preparation of this LSWMP, it has been discovered that the county does not currently collect enough solid waste disposal and recycling data to reliably measure actual recycling rates. Furthermore, the data that is collected is occasionally incomplete and inconsistent. A goal for the county during this planning period will be to evaluate future options for improving the amount and accuracy of the data which the county receives in order to measure actual system performance and make more informed future solid waste planning decisions. I concluded that a comprehensive evaluation was difficult due to the paucity of hard data from private haulers in towns and the absence of recycling data from many towns. Warren County has many private haulers as evidenced by their containers along roadsides, and it appears they are all doing their own thing without oversight. Moving forward, I think our county needs to collect hard data to make science-based decisions and to have a higher level of enforcement so haulers conform to the regulations already on the books. Therefore, I favor that the Warren County 2021 budget include funding for a dedicated position to collect data about all these private haulers and their loads. Additionally, this professional would enforce regulations to prevent private haulers disposing recyclables in the incinerator. And number two, establishing a modest tipping fee of a certain amount of dollars per ton that can offset the cost of funding such a position. This should begin in 2021. Thank you for including my comments, Mary Beth Milot. And we have from Diane Collins, I know I sound like a broken record, but sometimes that strategy gets things done. Our Zero Waste Committee has been in repeated communication with Warren County Supervisors and Kevin Hajos with zero waste ideas and invitations from other towns and cities willing to work with Warren County and share their successful strategies. We think that the consultant's Local Solid Waste Management Plan 2019-2028 left out substantial improvement recommendations with the exemption of permitting licensing haulers and collecting data to measure what is going on. A very short story. My street, Thornberry Drive in Glens Falls, is 3/10 of a mile long. This summer on a Tuesday, I counted 7 different private hauler bins along my street. That, of course, translates to 7 heavy garbage trucks driving weekly on my recently paved street. I called the 7 companies. 3 of the smaller companies told me that all they collect goes to Wheelabrator for incineration. As the Board of Supervisors knows, it is against the law to incinerate the recyclables picked up by these companies. And as the Board of Supervisors also knows, Warren County is providing no enforcement of the 1991 source separation law for private haulers. Our municipalities are not tracking private haulers at all. Many community members know that the single stream system is not working and have lost faith in recycling. It's time to find out and act. Kevin Hajos has shared with our committee that he soon plans to bring to the Solid Waste Committee the issue of hauler permits, fees, and reporting requirements. DEC has recently established more stringent hauler reporting requirements. Enforcement will also be necessary. Warren County needs to coordinate and manage this complex hauler oversight program for consistency. Professional staff to do this requires budgeted funds. As a taxpayer, I request that the budget include oversight of the private haulers and where their refuse is taken, and not wait for the 2022 budget. There is also income potential of over $500,000 annually by charging private haulers a $10 per ton surcharge on garbage destined for disposal with minimal impact on homeowners, estimated at about $5 a year per person. Questions for Mr. Conover, Chair of the Public Works Committee. What is the downside to amending the 2021 budget to include paying additional dedicated professional staff for a hauler oversight program? She wants to know if Supervisor Conover wants to address these during this session. So what is the downside to amending the 2021 budget to include paying additional dedicated professional staff for a hauler oversight program?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy. Quickly. There's no,
Very quickly, this is a public hearing,
there is no downside, and my understanding is that Commissioner Hajos, Superintendent Hajos, is going to be coming to committee with a plan to administer those laws shortly. They may be under the impression that they have to wait till 2022 to amend the organizational structure and budget of the DPW department. That's not the case. When Mr. Hajos comes forward with his plan, the board, committee, and then the board will be at liberty to amend the budget should that be required and the appropriate resources. But first, we need to have the plan from the department as to doing that. I hope that answers the question. And we don't have to wait till January of 2022 or December of 2021.
Thank you.
Thank you. And she also asked, can potential surcharge revenue from transfer stations and private haulers be considered? It seems that would be answered during the process, unless you want to answer it.
No, I don't want to prejudge the committee or the process, but sure, that would be on the table. Of course it would.
Would you be willing to Zoom meet with Kevin Hajos on our committee in the near future?
I'm happy to meet with anyone at any time.
That's the last of her questions. She then writes, thank you to the board. We are on the same page with wanting to improve the way Warren County manages our solid waste, but feel decisions and actions need not wait until 2022. That's the end of the zero waste, people. Let me just check YouTube real quick. We have no other budgetary comments on YouTube.
Okay. Are there any other comments from anyone on either one of the public hearings? Otherwise, okay, I'll declare both public hearings closed. At this time, I would ask Janelle. She made a lot of comments at the task force meeting yesterday, and she's been invited to come here and give everyone some of her comments. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I have to say I'm very worried and nervous as we go into the holiday season. And I'm respectfully asking everybody, as board supervisors, administration, as county employees, as citizens in the community, as visitors, as travelers, as college students, to respectfully act responsibly through the holiday season. I really would like people to avoid travel and gatherings. I know that it's legal to have a gathering of 10, but that doesn't mean it's a good decision. If people are going to have gatherings, I'm asking that they follow guidance, limit the number, ensure you have the appropriate space in your home. Not everybody's home can accommodate 10 people in a living room or a kitchen and dining table. Socially distance, mask. Households should be eating together and over 6 feet away from others because you can't wear masks when you're eating. Limiting appetizers and drinks while mingling. People have to have masks off to eat and drink, and if you're mingling, you need to be 6 feet away. And appetizers are touched by many people, and when you're drinking, you obviously have to take your mask off, so you really should be 6 feet away, but I would discourage appetizers. People should stay home if they've been in work environments where there have been outbreaks, or they've been in school environments where there's outbreaks, or whether they've had family members that they've been exposed to, or they've been around sick people, even if they don't know whether it's COVID or not, or if they themselves have signs and symptoms, no matter how insignificant they may be. College kids and visitors as they come home, because we're expecting a lot of these people coming home in our community in the coming days. Some have already started to come. They need to slowly acclimate into households, because technically if your college kid's been away, or your visitor or family member's been away, and they're coming into your household to spend a vacation or to be home till February, you can't just come into town, visit all your friends from all their other colleges. You can't go visit all your family members that you haven't seen in 3 months. because you're spreading a lot of germs to a lot of people. You should very slowly maybe start with your household family first. So you're now mixing a household from college to a household in your family. You're putting those two families together slowly. And then after a certain fashion, at that point, then maybe you could go see a couple of your friends with masks, socially distanced, maybe outside for a short period of time, and gradually increase that when you know that you're not symptomatic, or know that you're coming down with something, or that you were exposed to somebody in college after your test. A lot of our college kids, especially the ones in New York, are being tested before they come home. The issue is they, I think, had to be tested within 10 days of coming home. If you have a negative test and then you're still at college for 3 or 4 days, depending on what those risk factors are and what those college kids have been doing since their test, they could have gotten exposed. And then at that point, you know, it's going to create an issue when they're acclimating into a household. A lot of times at Thanksgiving, we have friends over, we have family members, we have elderly people, grandparents, aunts, people that are sick, we have kids that have been at schools and everywhere else, and you're now putting all this under one household that obviously is going to perpetuate a lot of exposures. Our health department, I feel, has done a stellar job in keeping up and maintaining all of our cases. I have to strongly thank the community because it does take a community. It takes a lot of support. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of compliance. It takes a lot of patience to be told that you have to stay home from somebody when you live in a free country. And I do respect people's rights, and we try very hard to quarantine only the people that need to be quarantined. And I will say, and I'm very proud to say, and I'm very proud of our Queensbury residents, our residents from every other town, and Glens Falls, Bolton, Hampton, and that's all the towns, but please know that every town is being mentioned or thought about, including the Atholls, Thurmans, Pottersville, Chestertown, everything on the wall. But anyway, I just want to say I'm so very proud because I feel like we're one of the few counties that can say that we've had 100% compliance of every one of our positive cases. I can say every one of our positive cases have been notified the same day. Since Hudson Headwaters has been doing rapid testing, I can honestly say we find out within 15 minutes of a positive test. We're calling them when they're on their way home, and we're able to quickly put people in quarantine. I think that's, you know, going towards the success that we're seeing. But when we go into this holiday season, if you can only imagine how many households, how many 10 people gatherings, and how much infection can spread, it's really scaring me as we enter in Christmas and everything else as to what those holidays are going to look like. We're trying very hard to keep our businesses open, and, you know, we're trying hard to keep our schools open, and the more, you know, community effort we can put into following these guidelines, the more success we're going to have in staying open. And we're able to keep up with the cases that we have. Another thing I'd like to say about businesses, there's been a lot in the paper recently about enforcement, this and that, and everything else. And I would just maybe generalize this to our community in general. You know, nobody likes to be policed. I used to be a lifeguard. Actually, Tammy and I are still lifeguards and help with the Girl Scouts from time to time. And there's the whole mental thing of being told don't run versus walk. The positive walk certainly is better received than the don't run because people don't like to be told what they can't do. So what I would like to urge, you know, businesses to do so that we can stay open and keep people healthy. And I'm looking at going into Black Friday. I'm like, that's another nightmare that I'm trying to get through. I know how desperately our businesses need the business and need the, you know, customers coming in. But I also know how crowded stores can be. And I certainly am discouraging that from that standpoint. So my plea to stores and businesses would be, don't wait to be policed, police yourself. Come up with ideas for your own industry, your own store, to be able to say, can I cut the occupancy down to half? Can I require mask use? Can I have somebody go around and gently encourage people to put the mask over the mouth and nose, not wear it under the chin or under the nose? Remind my staff about their infection control measures. Make sure I have hand sanitizer. All those things that I promised to do to open my business or keep it open with New York Forwards. Revisit those plans, go back to the basics, and make sure you're following those plans so that you can ensure that your staff are safe, your staff's families are safe, your customers are safe. I'd like to plead to customers, as you're driving in a parking lot, if there's no parking place left, that's the last store you should be walking into. You should leave, go to another store, and then come back at a different time, and hopefully there won't be as many people in that parking lot. But I'm just urging the public not to overstuff stores, and I'm urging businesses not to overstuff stores as well. So I know I'm doing a lot of talking, and I'm sorry for that. But I did want to take this opportunity to remind everybody that our actions community-wide are going to impact our community and our businesses and our ability to stay open. And I'm just respectfully asking everybody to please, please, please make responsible decisions, understand the impacts of the choices that you make, do what you can to minimize risk. And I think as we go into Thanksgiving, I can say I'm blessed to work in such a wonderful community. I'm blessed to work with such wonderful community partners. I'm blessed to work for the county, and I appreciate the ability to serve the public. And I'm ultimately impressed and blessed every day with our public health staff. Their dedication, their passion, their willingness to work through lunches and dinners to get the job done every day so that we can come back every day on a fresh slate with impressive. And I'm very thankful for that. And I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for the support that you give us.
Thank you, Janelle.
Do you have any questions?
Any questions? Thank you, Janelle, and thank you for the work that you do and your work your department does. And thanks to our residents for trying to follow the rules for the most part. Thank you very much. Okay. Next, I have a report of the chairman. Keep this brief. I attended the Economic Task Force meetings on the 15th of October, 30th, and yesterday, 11/19. I attended pretty much all of the committee meetings on the 19th and the 20th. October 22nd, I attended the inter-county meeting with Lewis County by Zoom. They had a very nice presentation from the director of the Tug Hill Commission. It was very interesting. The 26th, the LDC and Tourism. 29th, Personnel and Finance and the Budget meeting. November 10th, I attended the Tourism Industry meeting, also by Zoom, and that was very interesting discussion and ideas about how to expand our tourism season to a 365 operation, a 4-season operation. It's going to take some time and take some work, but so I don't think it's impossible. November 12th, I attended a webinar about MRFs, material recovery facilities. That was very interesting, learned quite a lot. I know the county way back when had something approaching that. I'm not sure that's where we want to go. See a lot of money and equipment and employees, so, but I did learn a lot actually from the discussion. November 16th, I attended the second budget committee meeting and also support services about our insurance renewal. November 18th, participated in the State of the County with the Adirondack Regional Chamber of Commerce with Budget Officer Garrity and Administrator Moore. We met with Mayor Blaze and also attended the first stakeholder meeting of the Reform and Reinvent Policing. I'd like to report progress on the communications tower behind the Stony Creek Town Hall. The tower is up. They climbed up the tower on Thursday, and the antennas are up. The small building is there. All the equipment is. National Grid's run power to it, and I think we're down to Verizon running a T1 line to the building, and they hope to have it operational by mid-December. So after it got started, it actually went along pretty good. last thing I'd like to mention is I did read Fred Monroe puts out clips from newspapers on the local government review board website or his email, and one of the articles was about a beetle, Larcovus beetle from Washington State that has been released by an organization, and it feeds on the hemlock woolly algid, and that's the only thing it feeds on. So once it gets finished feeding on the woolly algid, it goes away, it dies. And they also mentioned something about silver flies too, whatever. I'm not sure what silver flies are, but I think that's something that, you know, we hear about, we don't pay a lot of attention to, but if majority of the hemlock trees were to die, it would be devastating to Warren County. That's my report. Supervisor McDill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your last comments about the trees in the Adirondacks, I think anytime you can get a natural predator to attack the problem, that certainly is as opposed to a chemical type perspective, makes a lot of sense to me. The pandemic, as we get closer to hopefully a national and international solution, we probably in Warren County sometime in the month of December, probably late December, will probably be receiving some vaccine. Then becomes the incredible journey to convince 63,000 people in Warren County of the value of inoculation. The logistics locally as well as nationally in terms of inoculating and tracking millions of people, that being on a national basis, is staggering. What is occurring nationally, and I think is occurring on a statewide basis, is that we're attempting to expand online systems to track and to share information about who has been vaccinated. We need nationally to find safe locations for mass vaccination events. The biggest problem we have is to convince the public of the importance of being immunized. This will be a phenomenal logistical feat if we can accomplish it. Pfizer is probably the first one coming downstream as it relates to a vaccine. With the Pfizer vaccine, every recipient will need a booster shot 3 weeks after their initial shot. Keeping track of these human beings in our county, but even nationally, is going to be a trick. And the importance of keeping track of these people is really important. There is a new federal computer platform. It is described as the immunization gateway. And the importance of the immunization gateway is to connect state registries so that they can share information. If someone, for example, gets the first dose of their vaccine in Warren County and then goes to Florida for a period of time, the people in Florida that should know exactly what Mr. or Mrs. Jones received in terms of dosage and how they can safely provide that second dose if that indeed does occur. Spoke to Janelle late yesterday, and we talked a little bit about something called ultra cold storage capacity. The Pfizer vaccine will be shipped in coolers with dry ice that can keep it viable for up to 15 days with re-icing. It can then last 5 days more in conventional freezers. Janelle indicated that we do have some refrigeration capability, but we do not have the capability to handle the ultra low temperatures of some of these vaccines that are coming. Just went online and pulled up ultra low freezers, and we're talking about a range of anywhere from $400 to $19,000 for these freezers. Maybe this discussion can be had in the future, but I just posed the question to the board that this may be something that we may want to consider. So we're in the really important chapter of trying to solve the pandemic locally and nationally. The vaccines are here, and we need to ensure that 75% of Warren County does indeed get vaccinated and believes that the vaccine is important to their health and the health of their family. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you, Chairman. The first thing I want to report on is that the real property director, Alexi Delory, informed me that we did issue the notice to proceed on demolition of the Mullins building. So that will be starting soon. I'm sure there are people who are very happy about that. You'll get more details at our next committee meeting, which I believe is Tuesday. We did have a committee meeting on October 20th, and you have in your resolution packets, resolutions 407 to 409, related to, one is related to a grant for recycling program. If we get that grant, we will look at what we can actually do with it, with the money, and how much the county is going to spend. The second one there is about the foreclosure and accepting conveyance of all the properties that we did sell at the auction. And we had a discussion at our meeting about a proposal to do a septic inspection at transfer law, similar to what Queensbury and Bolton have done. We're still working on that, we being me and some other people who are interested in this topic. But what came to light right after that was the discovery of a harmful algal bloom in Lake George in Harris Bay off of the east side of Assembly Point. And it turns out, I believe there were other harmful algal blooms that appeared during the last week or so. Well, last 2 weeks, I guess it was. That was, I think, the weekend of November 9th. So I want to just educate a couple, if people don't know, the harmful algal blooms, part of the reason that they form is because of excess nutrients in the water. And the reason it's really bad is because they can lead to toxins in the water, which are very harmful to people. That's why they're called harmful algal blooms. They don't always produce toxins, but when they do, it can be very bad. Even when they don't, it's still not something that you want to be swimming in, and you don't want to allow your dogs to swim in it, because there have been sicknesses arising from that. So the reason I'm bringing this up in the context of the septic inspection law is because, as you might imagine, if you have poor septic systems that are leaking nutrients into the water, that can contribute to harmful algal blooms being created. So I think it's really important that we continue to push forward and look at what we as a county can do. Lake George Park Commission does have their new stormwater regulations, which I would urge us to recommend that the Park Commission go forward with those, because it helps to make sure we don't have pesticides and that kind of pollutant getting into the lake. And whatever else we can do from a county perspective, including this septic inspection at transfer law, I think is really important for us, given how important the lake is and its pristineness is to our county and our economy. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Bruno.
Nothing to report at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Human Services Committee met on October 19th. There was a lot of good information sharing that came out of that meeting. There are no resolutions in today's board meeting packet resulting from that meeting. The next committee meeting will be this Monday, November 23rd, on or about 11:45 a.m. And I would just like to also thank Janelle Jones for her presentation. Certainly I'm preaching to the choir when I say that this is serious business, but I think that also a lot of us may not appreciate how much the work of health services goes into benefiting our economy. Again, if people aren't practicing those types of things, as I discussed with Supervisor Wild earlier today, it's going to have a direct impact on our economy. So the more and better we can do in those safe practices, sharing that information with our friends, as Janelle said, in a positive manner, to remind them that they all have a responsibility to help everyone remain safe and healthy. And also, I would like to thank Supervisor Conover for his comments and information about the budget process as it relates to the comments made by the Zero Waste Committee. I think it's very helpful that a lot of people think that we make decisions on a budget once a year, and then you got to wait for that following year in order to make changes. I appreciate Kevin Hajos for his participation in discussions with that committee, and look forward to moving forward with some of those changes in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Frazier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee met on October 29th, 2020. As a result of that, we have resolutions 403, 404, and then 429 through 431. 429 deals with authorizing the appropriation of funds to fund the purchase of a generator for the Human Services Building. 430 is a first wilderness plan implementation authorizing the transfer of funds and amending the budget. And then 431 comes from the sheriff, ratifying the actions of the chairman of the Board of Supervisors and executing a grant application to the New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee for statewide police traffic services program funding. And that's all we have for the resolutions. I'm not sure, and I would appreciate your support on those. And I think there's Mr. Swan, and we'll see what he has to say.
Good morning,
Treasurer,
everybody.
how are you?
Really good, sir. How about yourself?
Good.
It's nice to see so many faces here today. A lot more than we have in the past. I really don't have anything new to say today. Our sales tax is still down about 4% in collections. Other than that, things are pretty much going along the way they have been. We're still in pretty good shape. I think that the budget that the budget officers put together is a good, sound budget. The only concern that I have going forward is the fact that we don't have contracts with two of our major unions, and that could cost some money in the long run, especially when you consider pay and retro pay. But other than that, I think we're doing pretty well. I just wanted to say if anybody has any questions about anything, I'm here to answer.
Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike, do we have any numbers in on the tax collections?
They're lagging behind, and a lot of it is the fact that some of the major properties have not remitted the tax yet. So I don't really have a good handle on where we are with it yet. I did talk to our person in the office today, and some of the payments are starting to come in. I don't like to make excuses for the properties, but they're having cash flow problems. So they're hanging on to that money to work with their cash flow. And the ones that have come in have paid the penalties and interest for being late. So they're working on it.
Well, can you keep us abreast on that?
Yes, I will. As soon as I was going to bring some figures today, but I'm concerned that they're not where they should be. I don't want to give some false hope or make some statements that maybe depress everybody either.
Well, respectively so, I understand. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Swan, and that's my report.
Thank you. Supervisor Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Personnel and administration did meet on October 29th. We had two actions that we took in that committee. One was to fill a vacant position in the human resources, a part-time clerk. And also, as part of the public safety committee, we had a position that we created and authorized to fill for the Stop DWI coordinator part-time. And those are reflected in resolution number 428 and 435. It was one of the shortest personnel administration meetings I've ever been part of in 7 years. Part of that meeting that lasted 15 minutes was an executive session. So it was pretty amazing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm joining you all tonight from home while we wait for our newly returned college students' second test to return. So I encourage others to think that way and act that way. We're going to be having a very small turkey. It's about this big. Cornell Cooperative Extension continues to amaze me with their ability to remain relevant in a time when it is hard to conduct in-person programming. They are having they'll be at the annual Christmas in Warrensburg on December 5th. Stop by the Master Gardener activity table and make evergreen swags because we can still decorate even if we can't gather. There will be a basic air rifle class on December 6th. Everything will be COVID compliant there. And on December 10th, CCE is going to be conducting a Zoom diabetes and COVID-19 session. All of those you can find more information out at their website. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Dickinson.
No report.
Hi, Dennis. Thank you. Supervisor Molino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tourism has 3 resolutions. One, we made at our last meeting to have an agreement with the Star Report for hotel occupancy delivered to the tourism department. The second one is to authorize the agreement with Lake Placid Ad Workshop to provide broadcasting and digital buys for the tourism department. The third one is 427, which I'll bring up when we do resolutions. There's going to be a slight change in that. I hate to bring it to the floor now, but we have to make a slight change. And that was, it's still in effect to resolve all other resolutions for consulting groups to help the tourism department and to reinstate a 3-person or 3 people advisory committee, and that's what I'll speak on when we're doing resolutions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, wait, sorry, one more thing. I almost forgot. The winter media plan for the tourism department is ready to be launched, but the cautions are due to the surge in the virus. We're just holding back a little to see what happens in the next couple of weeks. But today they will launch the Adirondack Christmas Shop local media campaign that will encourage people to support the local businesses or online, in many cases, to have people keep buying locally. So that'll go out for all the towns that will be involved in that. That starts today. Thank you.
Frank. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Supervisor Dickinson.
How much is that contract 426?
The way I read it, it's up to $1,250,000. Up to.
So you got $1,250,000 for a single contract from the tourism department that has a $2 million budget.
That's right.
Correct? I totally object to that. I can't believe you've raised it to $1.25 million and you don't have the decency to restore our supplementary funds. I don't get it.
That, Dennis,
But the tourism department is not about OCTAX anymore?
We are on committee reports, not discussion of resolutions.
Okay. I'll wait.
Good. Thank you. Supervisor Stroud.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No committee report this month.
Thank you. Supervisor Wild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Economic Growth Development Planning Committee met on the 20th of October. There's no resolutions in front of the board today, unfortunately, but it takes a while to move our economy. The task force continues to meet weekly, both from a high level and from the hospitality group. The hospitality group, as our chairman mentioned, did meet on the 10th of November. It was an outreach effort to take some of the actions and the ideas from the group and spread it out among the business community. It was well received. We're hoping to do it again, probably quarterly, so look for that. Janelle was at our last meeting. I asked her to attend today. She blew us away. She does every time she speaks. I'm very much concerned about our economy, as everyone mentioned. The business community joined in earlier this year and developed procedures and standards to open their business and open safely. That was in the spring and summertime. Now people are inside. And we know from history that there was a second wave and we're in the middle of it right now. So I also have to implore our business community to be more diligent about following the plans that they had in place. And if they have an issue with mask enforcement, go to a stewards. That organization early on was one of those that felt that they could not adhere to that standard. Every time you go in there today, you will see everyone wearing a mask. And if they don't, they're asked to leave because they won't be served. And it works. So my plea to the business community is please do our best. We want to stay open and we want to limit the spread of this virus as much as we can. And I'd also like to support what Supervisor Bramer mentioned about the algal bloom versus algal bloom. I'll trust you that you're right. But that is a major concern. Lake George is a major economic driver for this region, as well as our other water bodies and our lakes. We need to pay attention to this, not only from an environmental standpoint, from an economic standpoint, and I'm going to be joining on her committee to see what we can do about affecting some change. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Support services met kind of abruptly on November 16th on our self-insurance. The reason for this quickness was it was thought that we really did. We locked in a pretty good rate for the up and coming year. It would start off as a 4% increase, which really seemed relatively low. Not bad for the size of our insurance policy. So we discussed everything. Our insurance adjuster, carrier, consultant found some areas that actually we're double paying. We had overlap on coverage. One covered this, and then there was another. So we found out a lot of stuff that was really very informational, and so actually it wasn't a bad meeting, and it was encouraging. So I just hope for all this support we can get today for moving this forward, so we can lock in this good rate. I also like to reach out to Janelle for all she does and her whole department. This COVID is really put a damper on all of us, and her department, along with Ryan's daily updates, is really what we need to keep going forward here. I want to reach out to all the constituents and the residents out there. We really do need to be mindful for the holidays coming up, because we are in the second wave, and it's really amazing how one person, how many it actually can affect within a family or business, you know, and just being out there in public. So just be mindful that, you know, we're all in this together, and we need to do our part to all stay healthy, and wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving up here. That's all I have for a report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Seaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Criminal justice met on October 19th, and while you do not have any resolutions in front of you specifically from that meeting, you do have a couple items in your notice to fill vacancies, so I just want to touch on those two. At that time, our public defender had requested, and it was approved, for coordination assistant public defender. That's fully funded by our grants. And then an 8th assistant public defender that was also approved, and that's in your list of committee or positions that will be filled. That's at 90.5% grant funded. We also continued our discussion about office space. That is something we'll continue to talk about specifically this coming Monday on your agenda for criminal justice. We met though again, and I appreciate Supervisor Driscoll's willingness to have a joint meeting on October 30th. And we had that joint meeting, I believe it was October 30th. I think I'm wrong on that date, but we had a joint meeting. And that joint meeting really focused around a request from both DSS and the probation director to apply for a supervision and treatment services grant for juvenile programs. The purpose of that funding is to help in terms of prevention and detention for our youth. It's a grant that is about $40,000, and he had asked for an opportunity to be able to look at that a little differently and be able to see if both committees would recommend that request to be put in the budget. It's my understanding both committees had supported that request, and I assume at this juncture it has been put into the budget, but honestly I did not look directly. Was that their budget officer, Garrity? We had a joint meeting, DSS and criminal justice, and it was about Bob Ducey and Chris Hanchett asking for a grant to be included in the upcoming budget year.
STSJP program?
Correct.
Yes, that's in the budget.
Thank you. Additionally, there was a meeting on for the Public Safety and Joint Criminal Justice, the steering committee at the national level, that took place on November 18th. There was also a committee on November 12th regarding that same committee. And then on October 30th, which was my original date there, Resilient Counties Advisory Committee. And so as an appointed member from NACO for that, I did attend those events. And lastly, at the appropriate time, Mr. Chairman, I would ask for discussion on Resolution 413, please.
413.
And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for serving on the NACO board.
I appreciate the support, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Supervisor Beatty.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had to unmute myself. First of all, I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Obviously, it's next week, and we're in strange times, to be sure. I don't know about the directive with 10 people or less for Thanksgiving. I know I'll be going to adhere to that, but that is what the governor would like. I was disappointed that he chose to take offensive remarks against our Mr. LaFar and Mr. Murphy and other up-county sheriffs. But that being said, I'm sure we're all use common sense and make responsible decisions concerning their own situation. Facilities met. There's two housekeeping issues that we need to take care of. It's Resolution 405, 406. It's nothing earth-shattering. It's awarding a bid and authorizing an agreement for some elevator maintenance that we have to have done, and also our semi-annual inspection. That's 405, 406, awarding a bid and authorizing an agreement with responsible bidder for routine plumbing, cleaning, disposal for septic systems and throughout Warren County. Again, that's fairly routine. I'd also like to make a comment that I think this year's budget, under the circumstances and the decrease in state funding, revenue funding, as well as obviously our decrease in our state taxes. I think Kevin's done a great job along with Ryan and some other key people in presenting a budget that actually decreases the county tax. So that in these times are, I think I'd give that an A-, and I'm a tough grader. So I think that concludes, let's see here, that concludes my report. I would like to say one final thing though. Mr. Wild referred to Stewart's, you know, and he's correct. Stewart's has been a leader in promoting and pushing for masks if you want service. I know early on I handed out probably 300 minimum masks to different Stewart's in Queensbury. They were very gracious. They said, thank you. This will help us to enforce a mask on everyone in our establishments. And obviously they walk the walk and talk the talk. So that concludes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Supervisor Shepard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no report at this time.
Okay, thank you. Budget officer here.
Yeah. We rolled out the tentative budget on November 6th. I believe it's well received by the board, and I would ask to give you support today on that. I did speak with Superintendent Jones about some of the zero waste energy initiatives, and I believe that he does plan on addressing that in his budget the coming year. Also ran a budget meeting on the 16th, addressed any issues that were brought up by committee members, and I attended numerous committee meetings and APA local government, inter-county yesterday, Zoom meetings, so we've had a busy month, but I would ask for your support on the budget today, and I thank Supervisor Beatty for his kind remarks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Conover.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Public Works Committee met on October 20th. I have before you three resolutions. I think are straightforward and self-explanatory. Resolution 423 are bids that were received and award as a result of that process that did not go through committee, but I think given the nature of that particular contract, I think that's something we should move forward with expeditiously, deal specifically with public safety, and I would ask for your consideration on that. And then just a general comment relative to solid waste. I think that this is a subject that hopefully the Public Works Committee is going to continue to have on its agenda throughout 2021. I've had discussions with Commissioner Hajos, Superintendent Hajos, about this, and I don't think there's any question that the reduction and handling of solid waste is, if not today, will soon be a major priority. So better we deal with that issue today. Going forward, to do that, as some of the presenters indicated in their letters, we have information that needs to be updated and made timely. Some of the information is a bit dated, and we need to have that data, that information made current. And so I look forward to our discussions relative to the whole issue of solid waste and just as importantly, how we plan to address this issue going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Liggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public Safety Committee met on October 19th. There are 8 resolutions in front of you. 2 are from OES, 6 are from the Sheriff's Office. One is to correct prior resolution about fire coordinators. Another one is authorizing extension of agreement with City of Glens Falls that we have every year for fire research. Then with the sheriff's office, we have an agreement with the Department of Social Services for sheriff's services, actually 2 of those. And then contracts with LexisNexis for the jail and NEC for monitoring. And then doing something here with the contingent source of funding. It's to make sure all the T's are crossed, and I's dotted here for the call center. And then a submission of for a grant for the DWI, targeted DWI enforcement for $10,000. Appreciate your support on all of those housekeeping items. Also, I'd like to update that Anne-Marie Mason has taken the seat of Director of OES. She is doing well at getting acclimated in there. The OES storage building is operational now. The sheriff held a stakeholders meeting on November 18th to receive input for the police reform plan according to Executive Order 203. And he had pulled together agencies and individuals through the area here that could help with that, give input. As Vice Chairman of the Soil Water Conservation District, we had a meeting on October 26th. They're doing well. They hold water quality meetings so that when issues like the HABs and such come up, they talk about how solutions for those. They have applied for grants from Lake Champlain Basin for stormwater improvement and aquatic invasive management. The IDA met on November 12th. As Vice Chairman there, I'll report on that we have 3 large projects in front of us. One is expansion of the butane medical marijuana facility in the town of Chester, the expansion of Adirondack Winery in the town of Queensbury, and the installation of a very large electric transmission line from Canada to New York City that's going totally through Washington County. The LDC met on October 26th, our first get together to talk about the LDC as we organize ourselves after the passing of Mr. Bartholomew. Attended the inter-county meetings on October 27th and November 19th, Lewis County and Fulton County. Always interesting there. Always good reports from the NISAC about the finances of the state and how it affects us. On SUNY Adirondack Investors meeting on November 12th, sat in on that, and on November 10th, sat in on the Hospitality Economic Development meeting, which kind of highlighted the need for the North Warren to be more vocal on the hospitality scene as well. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No committee reports today.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up we have a report of the county administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a brief report, I hope. Before I do, let me just address Resolution 426, which Supervisor Dickinson brought up. The amount on that resolution is reflective of the amount that was on the bid. They put the bid out this year to go higher in a future year in the event that we have the economic ability to go higher. And so this is the budget that we would spend on advertising. And it does not represent commission. That's the spend, that $1,250,000. However, if you look at the last resolved paragraph in that resolution, the funds shall be expended from budget code, so on and so forth, but shall be limited to the amount provided in the 2021 budget. The 2021 budget provides $1 million, so there's no increase in what's proposed to be spent on this contract. It's the same as it is under this year and under previous years is the $1 million. The $1,250,000 is just reflective of the bid, which will allow us to go higher in the future if it makes sense to go higher. This was all discussed at the Tourism Committee meeting on October 26th. It passed that committee. The only supervisor that voted against it was Supervisor Wild. It's exactly what went through committee. On the budget, obviously today's a budget approval day or budget amendment day. I do want to thank Budget Officer Kevin Garrity for working with all of us on that. It was an enjoyable process, as it always is, and I think Kevin did a great job. Thank you to Tammy and Christy and to Rob Lynch for all of your work that you do on this budget every year. We couldn't do it without any of you. And thanks also to every supervisor, because you're all either committee chairs or you were additionally involved in these budgets in various respects. Supervisor Diamond, as I've mentioned before, was there for just about every one of them, and many of you participated to an extent as well, and we appreciate your input into the budget. I think it's a good budget, and it's reflective of everybody having some involvement in it, which is always a good thing. Employee anniversaries today. Coroner Paul Bachman has 30 years with the county, and Connie Hauk in Office for the Aging has 20. Congratulations to both of you for your commitment, and we appreciate all you've done for us. I'd like to say that the little good news, the 2020 Christmas Adopt a Family that the county workforce typically does, it's a great program. It's one of my favorite things that we do here at the county. And we have a employee activity committee that typically runs this program. It's dominated by employees from public health, who this year have had so much on their plate that it looked for a brief moment like we might have to not do the program. But we put out an email to all the county employees. There was an overwhelming response to it. We got over 24 employees, including some supervisors, that said, sign me up for whatever you need. As a result of that, we're going to have a bigger program this year than we've ever had before. We're going to do 13 families and a number of people over at Countryside that are in need. Those 13 families, I did a tally last night, that represents 25 kids, 11 moms, 1 dad, 1 grandmother, 1 grandfather, 9 dogs, and 15 cats that we're going to help hopefully have a better Christmas. It's an excellent program. Our county employees this year, starting with the takeout initiative, where they went and patronized restaurants in those difficult first weeks and months of the pandemic. Our county employees have been so good to the community, and this is another example of that. I thank them for it. It's very rewarding. And on that note, I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Report by the county attorney.
I have no report tonight.
Okay, thank you. Reading of communications.
We have the Warren County Probation Department report of criminal and family workloads for September of 2020 and Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Court September 2020 payment in the amount of $2,913.
Okay. Reading of resolutions.
Resolution numbers 403 through 437 were distributed to the members of the Board of Supervisors and posted to the Warren County website on November 13th. Resolution number 438 was authorized pursuant to action taken at the November 16th Support Services Committee meeting, and it was distributed to the board and posted to the county website on November 17th. As this met the mailing deadline specified in the rules of the board, only a simple majority vote is required to bring resolution number 438 to the floor.
Okay. Moved by Supervisor Simpson. Seconded by, by Supervisor Wild. Call the question, bringing resolution 438 to the floor. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
And resolution 426 was amended after mailing. That is the tourism resolution that we had to amend to add the last line that said that the funding would be limited to the amount provided in the 2021 budget. A motion is needed to approve the amendments to resolution 426 as provided.
Good. Someone care to move that? I'll move it. Moved by Supervisor Diamond, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion? Dennis, are you okay with 426?
Frank, I'm not okay with it. I know I was at that meeting. Actually, I didn't vote either for or against it. But I object. You've got a contract for $1 million. Why are you putting in the extra $250,000? I don't understand. I didn't understand that gobbledygook at all. And I seriously telling you, if we don't get this tax back in the towns, there's going to be a problem. I'm not sitting still for that. You get every time you guys want money, you take it from the town of Lake George and Bolton. Instead of using the county funds, you go back to ours. And I'm not sitting still for it. We generate $2 million out of the town of Lake George. I'm not sitting still for this. We need this money to do the things we need to do to keep this tourism machine running.
That's objectively not true. There's $350,000 taken out of the tourism department's budget for 2021. That's a 14% cut.
Oh, no.
Well, you cut us 100%, so I have no sympathy for you. You could cut more, I think. That's my opinion.
Okay. Supervisor Seaver.
Are we doing discussion on 426 now, or you're just asking for a motion?
On 426, we have the amendment on the floor, and we're discussing the amendment.
Well, I'd like to request a roll call. I don't know if there's an opportunity for 426 to go back to committee to talk a little bit more about some questions that have come up regarding it. You know, I don't know if that's possible or not, but that would be my request.
Any other Supervisor Wild discussion on the amendment?
Not on the amendment, thank you.
Supervisor Conover, discussion on the amendment?
No, not on the amendment. On the ordinance, but not on the amendment.
On the ordinance. Okay. Any other discussion on the amendment? Okay, I'll call the question on the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Now discussion on the overall resolution.
I'm opposed on that.
Yay. I'm opposed.
Wait a minute. We have one opposition to the amendment.
I'm opposed.
Two oppositions to the amendment. Any other oppositions? Okay, now I will continue discussion on 426. Supervisor Conover.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. You know, I'm prepared to vote on the budget, which means I'm prepared to vote on the funding that's appropriated for the tourism department, and I have since I've been a supervisor. And I was prepared to vote for buses for Johnsburg, and I was prepared to vote, and I was part of the team that designed the funding for Cool Arena. I was proud to support that funding for Glens Falls. And I was proud to support the capital plan for Cool Arena and so many other things. All I asked at committee was that the DISC board express its intent that at the time that the funding restores itself, that the funding to the towns will be restored. That's all I asked for. I didn't ask that we debate it. I didn't ask that we debate the metrics. I think it's very important that the $275,000 over the next 5 years that have been stripped away from Queensbury, that have been stripped away from Bolton, and the $750,000 that's been stripped away from Lake George, not to mention the money from the towns, that we express our intent that when we get through the pandemic, when the funding restores itself, that this funding will be restored. And if we don't do that, what's going to happen? There are people that are going to come forward and tell Dennis he's got to increase his activity line from $280,000 to $480,000 here in a few months to fund all different kinds of activities and who knows where. And we're still going to be out in left field waiting for our money. So I think there needs to be a statement of intent. Now that was summarily rejected at committee. Now maybe you didn't understand where I was going at that time. But what I was saying was, look, we're prepared to do our fair share in Bolton. We understand. We can read the numbers. But we also knew that $3 million that was being used in the projections was an incorrect number. It was incorrect when it was put in that August or September statement. But that's okay. They were being conservative. They want to make the state, they're being conservative. And then a few months later, they said, well, it's not 3 million, it's 3.5 million. Well, okay, it's 3.5 million. So at some point, I think it's very important, if we're going to have any harmony, on this issue, that this board needs to be able to tell Johnsburg, when the funding restores itself, the funding for Johnsburg is going to be restored. Mr. Beatty, when the funding restores itself, the funding stream for Queensberry or Ms. Sieber or Mr. McGowan or John Strow or whoever is going to be restored. But I'm here to tell you that the last 5-year projection that I saw zeroed you out. It didn't zero you out for 21 or 2020. It zeroed you out for 2021 and the next 5 years. It's the only line item that was zeroed out. Now I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt and to say, well, okay, somebody said, well, we're not funding it, so they zeroed it out. It was just an administrative thing. But convince me with some kind of intent here. Because otherwise what's happening is we're being asked, Dennis and I and everybody's being asked to appropriate and approve millions of dollars without any indication that our funding is going to be restored. And just one other thing, and I know I'm taking a long time on this, the funding for the towns predated almost $750,000 of additional funding. The funding for the towns goes all the way back to the initial funding of $250,000 to Cool Arena. What's been added since then? Well, I can tell you what's been added since then. We took the event line and went to almost $500,000. We put $250,000, which apparently has been rolled back, in the county tourism department. We put $100,000 in the convention. It had nothing to do with the towns. And in fact, the appropriation for the towns was in fact reduced. Because I don't know if the Queensberry people understand this, but you used to be $60,000. They stripped $5,000 from you, they stripped $5,000 from Bolton, and they stripped $5,000 from Lake George Town and Village because Dennis wanted a regional activity on the wine and cheese. They didn't come out of the fund balance for that money. They didn't appropriate that out of contingency. They stripped that from us, and that's why you're at 55 and we're at 55, and Queensberry is at 55, and that's why Dennis is at 145 and not at 150. So,
okay,
just one thing.
I hate to interrupt you.
So why don't we amend this?
I know you're on a roll, but what's this got to do with Resolution 426?
Why don't we amend this resolution and express our intent to restore the funding? Or better yet, why doesn't somebody advance the idea of doing a waive Rule 6 and adopting a resolution that expresses the intent of this board? Why do you keep piecemealing all of us with all of these individual ordinances? And just one other thing on the budget. We're discussing the budget today. I can tell you there were years we did not appropriate or approve a resolution on the supplement until January, maybe even February. I'd have to go back and check. So this urgency of having to make those kind of decisions, okay, there's an urgency. Just tell me where you're going. Tell me what your plan is. And so I shared Mr. Dickinson's and Ms. Sieber's concerns. We don't know where we're going. No intent on this has been expressed, other than one or two supervisors on occasion saying, well, our intent is, we'll take a look at it. Amend the resolution, express our intent to restore the funding, and a lot of these issues go away.
Supervisor Wild on 426.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, that's my intent to stay on 426. I'm not going to ask for a roll call, but I do not agree with this. A number of reasons, but this year we had a pretty strong tourism season. We spent half that amount of money. There's opportunities for us to move forward. This doesn't address it specifically, but as long as I'm convinced that we can keep an open mind moving forward in terms of what we do with tourism and our budget for tourism, I will support it from the background. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Further discussion on 426.
Roll call vote on this, Mr. Chairman.
Wait a minute. Point of order. We're Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I did raise my hand. I brought it to the floor so we could open up the dialogue, and I think this is great. I do, that's quite an increase. And I know Supervisor Wild has asked in the past, you'd like to see the numbers in you know, how the money is being spent and what's being brought in. I do see that it has, and overall, our tourism has grown greatly, especially with this past tough year that we had. So I just want to state that, you know, it is a big jump. It is a lot of money. Is this the right move? That's all up to 19 other of you too. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on 426? Supervisor Stroud has his hand up.
Yes. I'd like to see what Warren County Tourism has to say on this particular topic. I mean, if they strongly support it, so would I, but I haven't heard their opinion on this matter. I suspect that they do support it. But I would also support the amendment as suggested by Supervisors Dickinson and Conover, that, you know, an amendment to this resolution that we return the municipalities to the occupancy tax funding formula that existed in 2019. I think that's what they're stating. And I would support that amendment to this resolution if there is a tendency to go ahead with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Supervisor Molino.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think Joanne might like to speak on this, so we can get it all straightened out for you.
Okay, Ms. Connolly from Director of Tourism.
Thank you. Good morning. I think I would just reiterate what Ryan said. The amount that's in the resolution is $1.25 million. It has been $1 million for the past 4 years. That is an up to amount. And this year in particular, with, you know, everything that's going on, we only spent just over $500,000. So again, that's always an up to amount. Tourism is what we do. It's promotion. We need to spend money in order to attract people to come here. So the $1 million, I feel, is a reasonable amount. If conditions don't warrant that we spend that amount in 2021, then we certainly will not. So, you know, when looking at the $1.25 million, that is further down the line. If things are really great, we're bringing in more collections and we want to spend more money, that additional money is there as a buffer in the resolution and in the contract. This is a 1-year contract with an option to renew for up to 3 years. So this could be 4 years down the line.
Okay. Any questions for Joanne? Yes, Supervisor Wild.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Joanne, if you don't mind, there's a timing with any contract that we have. Does this need to go forward this month at this board meeting? Because I want to make sure we have a contract in place going forward, so my resistance to support this may change if it could impact us going forward.
The current contract will expire December 31. So my hope was to have it approved now so that on January 1, we're ready to begin advertising for, you know, January 1 winter promotion.
So we could delay this, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. So we could delay this into the December board meeting if we so choose to do that.
Yes, December 18th, I believe.
And Joanne, that would still be time enough for you to move forward?
Correct.
I definitely don't want to interfere with that, but I think the delay might be appropriate. But I won't make a motion to table until I hear from other supervisors.
Supervisor Liggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution came out of committee. It was discussed in committee. I respect the committee process that our board adheres to. So I feel that a resolution coming out of committee has a certain amount of weight. I am always reticent to amend any resolution that comes out of committee, tacking anything onto it. I hope that this board does not tack on any amendment onto this resolution, nor table it. As the director of tourism has told us, it has been at 1 million for the past 4 years. It is an up to amount that there are decisions being made at the tourism level, at the tourism committee level, headed by Supervisor Molino, that keeps an eye on this budget very tightly and direct where the spending should go. I would encourage the passage of this resolution as it sits before us. Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Hogan, I believe I see your hand go up.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too support this resolution. It is an up to, as Supervisor Leggett just reiterated. But my question for you is, what about a floor resolution of intent for the budget, for the 2021 budget? Can we do that? I know that's a separate discussion, but I feel like it's wrapped up in this discussion.
Is that a motion, Andrea?
Well, I'm not sure this is the right moment to do that, and I'll do it. I'm happy to do it.
I would assume that's an motion, and I'm going to second it.
Okay, but we're still discussing resolution 426. So until we get done discussing 426, that's what we're talking about.
Okay. I do.
Full 26.
Any other comments about 426?
Yes.
Supervisor Seaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was at the budget meeting when we discussed this contract. And, you know, to Supervisor Leggett's point about budgets being monitored and up to amounts, I'm, again, going to state what I stated at the budget meeting, that I'm uncomfortable with a contract this large and an up to amount of 1.2. I do think there's an opportunity to talk about this much more in depth prior to the contract deadline. I think good questions are raised. We continue to talk about it, not bringing it to the floor this first time, a concern that I have. And as much as we want to talk about things coming out of committee and that they should be given a lot of weight, I certainly think that should be applied across the board. But there is new information that comes up from the time someone makes a decision at committee or at other meetings. And those things should respectfully be considered. And I'm opposed to this as it stands.
Thank you. Yes, second time, Supervisor Dickinson.
Do I have a limit, Frank?
Well, you know, the way I understand it, everyone's supposed to get a chance to speak before people have a second chance. So,
well, is there somebody else who wants to speak?
I didn't see anyone.
Okay, I appreciate Joanne's comments, but I find it unusual that they would pad a line item in their budget of $250,000 when supposedly we are in a crisis with occupancy tax money, and you want to pad a line $250,000. I don't understand that, and I agree with Rachel. This is a political process. You have committee meetings. The committee makes recommendations to the board. It's the board's whole decision to review that decision by the committee and move ahead accordingly. It doesn't mean we have carte blanche approve everything that comes in front of us. We don't ever do that. So I don't understand his point either. Thank you.
Thank you. Any second comments? Good, Andrea.
Joanne.
Okay. Can I go to Joanne, the director, first? Andrea?
Sure, but I have I just have a question for Joanne.
Okay, go ahead.
If this resolution ends up getting tabled, Joanne, how does this impact our winter advertising?
I have money in the 2020 budget for now through December 31. And if this resolution comes back to the December board meeting and is approved, then I will be fine for January of 2021.
You good? Any other discussion on 426? Okay, I'm going to cut it off here pretty soon. Mr. McGowan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick clip. What is the average amount that we have spent over the last couple of years? You said like we've gone to 500,000. Was like the max we've spent so far?
The cap on the contract for the last 4 years has been $1 million. In 2020, it was just over $500,000, all things considered. I actually went back to 2007, 2008, 2009 budgets when we had the last financial crisis. And at that time, we had a contract for $850,000 in our promotion line for this media buy. So from 2008 to 2020, 21, that really has not increased considerably. And I would just like to say that in the 2021 budget, I do not have $1.25 million. I am not padding my budget. I have $1 million for 2021. Again, the same as it has been for the last 4 years.
So if we've never, we've come close to $800,000, but never hit the $1 million mark.
Oh, no, we've used $1 million in the last 4 years. That 800,000 was, I was just harkening back to many years ago when that was the amount that we spent. But in the last 4 years, we do typically spend $1 million with this contract.
I guess I'm a little confused. What do we actually spend? I've heard 500,000 this year, but now we're talking we spend $1 million. So, the whole purpose is if we're spending $1 million, why can't we leave it at $1 million?
500,000 was 2020 when it was not prudent to spend advertising dollars considering the health crisis that we're in.
Okay. Yeah, I thank you, Joey.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, I'll cut off discussion on 426. Is there any action? Yes. Okay. Discussion of other resolutions.
We got Ron up there.
Oh, all right. Sorry, I didn't see it. Supervisor Conover? Action.
I would just like to request a roll call on this resolution.
Yep, roll call.
And since my second time speaking, in terms of Ms. Hogan's question, yes, Ms. Hogan, if you did away with Rule 6, the intent of which is to express the intent of the board relative to restoring the town funding at the earliest possible convenience, that is allowed.
Discussion on other resolutions. Yes, Supervisor Merlino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As mentioned earlier in the meeting, on 426, the committee agreed to start having a 3-person advisory group for the tourism committee meeting. In the resolution, and I'm sorry I have to say this, I just like to strike the word chairman of the tourism. I don't want to have to be the person that picks the 3 people. I've been contacted, half dozen people looking for this position, and I just don't feel like I should be the one to pick these 3 people. So what I'm recommending, and I would like to put it to the floor, that we leave this resolution to eliminate all other contracts that we have for advisory boards, but to put out, if you want to call it an RFP, for people that are interested in being on this advisory board, and we put out once it gets passed, if that's passed, and let them submit a 1-page resume, and sometime in January, the tourism board that will be at that time will interview all these people, talk to them, and the whole board will pick the 3 people that we're going to put on this advisory board, instead of just using the word chairman of the tourism committee. Or I might not be chairman next year, I don't know, but the point is that I just don't want to be the, a lot of people are real good people out there that I'm talking to, and I just don't want to be the one that has to pick it. I'd rather have the committee listen to the people, read their resumes, and then we can vote on 3 people that they'll start probably February 1st of 2021. So that's all I'm asking to change this resolution and move forward with it right at this time.
So this is resolution 427, and you would like to amend it, removing chairman
The word chairman.
at in the middle of the resolution and at the bottom.
Bottom, right. And then to add the thing that we will put out an RFP.
No, I don't think we need to do that. I think that goes back to committee, and the committee will decide. I don't think we can do that. I think that's, that's what committees are for, I think.
I'll second that motion to amend.
Okay. Moved by Supervisor Merlino, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. Discussion on the amendment of removing the two chairman words. Yes, Supervisor Duncan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to agree with Supervisor Molino. I think the committee structure itself speaks for our actions, and I think that it just makes better sense that the committee make that decision on those 3 individuals that are going to act as an advisory role going forward. So I think that makes a lot of sense to me.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'll call the question on the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No opposition. Okay, other resolutions? Yes, Supervisor Seaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to talk about Resolution 426. Before I do, I have a procedural question regarding resolutions for our county attorney, if I may.
Yep.
As we're talking about resolutions, and certainly every month, I'm sure you're all sick of me asking for Robert's Rules training and a Rules of Board training, but I'm now into 3 different Robert Rules books and websites and everything else I've purchased. It's my understanding, and I'd like the county attorney to let me know if this is permissible or not, or maybe we have a parliamentarian. Who is our parliamentarian?
The attorney.
Okay, well, Mary, you're up for both then. So we can, in instances of a highly debated topic or something that has a lot of discussion, we can make a motion to limit or extend the limits of debate to where individuals could either have 3 or 4 opportunities to speak or up to 10 minutes, or we could make a motion to limit it so that people only have an opportunity to speak once. Is that correct? I have no idea. Right, but in the instance where the rules of the board do not address it, Robert's Rules takes place, or vice versa.
I'm not sure. But I think our rules rule for the most part, but you could be correct.
Do you think that we can make that a priority to have a training on both of the rules of the board and Robert's Rules so that in the future our parliamentarian and county attorney is prepared to answer those questions as they come up? Because today is a good example of how that could be utilized to have further discussions about things that are important to our constituents and to our board.
Are you speaking of 426?
I'm just speaking, oh yeah, sure, well, I'll make it applicable to 426. But I'll make it applicable to anything. I mean, it's a procedural question.
I didn't mean to step on anybody. I just thought we covered it pretty well.
Regarding 426 specifically, again, this was an instance where it was discussed in committee very quickly, and we have an individual who wants to put on an event at the Festival Commons for charity. No one's making money off of this. And during that committee meeting, and our county administrator was nice enough to refer me to the exact location in the YouTube video where it was discussed, I did not participate, nor do I sit on that committee, but I am concerned that there was a reluctance to decrease the space rental to an individual to have a charitable event. And here we're asking to pass a resolution at $500 per day, which I understand is reduced a little bit anyhow. But in a time where we're looking for people to have tourism events in a safe manner that allow, I mean, if you look at Albany and the drive-through lights in Albany, how incredibly popular that is. this woman is trying to put on a very similar event that will benefit every single one of our municipalities. I'm asking for an amendment today from $500 reduced to $50 per day. I think this is something that the county could certainly afford, and it would also be something that would benefit each one of our municipalities and our constituents in a time that's very scary for a lot of people. But I don't necessarily I don't want to say I don't appreciate in the way that she was treated, but I'm not real excited over the fact that we aren't able to help her with occupancy tax. I understand for a multitude of reasons, but we do have an opportunity to help our community members, and I would certainly hope that that would be the goal of the board.
Just for clarification, we're talking about resolution 413.
I'm sorry.
You are
absolutely right.
We seem to have gotten hung up
It's
on
413. You
426.
said 426.
426.
413. Excuse me. Yes, that's the one I wanted discussion on, and I thought we were into new resolution. But if you're not done with 426, you can go back. And
No,
I
thought we were. Everybody keeps saying 426, so I'm getting a little confused.
Whatever you prefer, Mr. Chairman, but I'd like to tackle 413.
Okay.
Thank you.
So are you proposing a amendment?
I am, respectfully.
So we have a proposal to amend 413 and reduce the $500 per day to $50, correct?
That is my proposal.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that. Stennis.
Seconded by Supervisor Dickinson. Discussion. Supervisor McGowan, then Merlino.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I was at that meeting, and I want to thank you for bringing that up, Rachel. But it was discussed, and I even thought the $500 was a lot of money, but that's what she felt that she could pay than putting on this event. So, okay, so we have new information, but no, I do not have a problem going down to 50. I think this is a great opportunity to bring in people and for the tourism. So thank you for bringing that up.
Supervisor Merlino.
I don't disagree with, we could do it for nothing, as far as I'm concerned, but there is a cost to run these things at the festival space. There's cleaning, people to take care of the bathrooms, there's things that have to be done, and this is a charged event. It's not free, it's a charged event. So that's all I'll say. Just so everybody knows, the young lady which is putting it on, this is what she suggested, from what I understand. Maybe it's changed since, but she's charging an admission fee, and we do have to cover the cost of operating the bathrooms, the electric lights that are going to be on. Where's that money going to come from?
Yeah, she's charging $5, I think, for whatever, carload maybe, or for group. And I believe it's sold out, actually. Supervisor Bramer.
Thanks. I did want to just chime in. She is charging. My understanding is that it's a way for her to manage the number of people who are in the space at the same time. So she complies with the COVID rules. And she's also donating all of the proceeds to charity. She's not making a profit. So the $5 is like, she's not making money off of this as far as I can tell. And I would suggest we give it to her for free, but I see our county attorney is waving her hand, so maybe that's not even possible. But I will support the $50.
Okay. Yes. Attorney Singh.
So I apologize if I can go the record. I see this every time we do this. Unconstitutional. It's an unconstitutional gift to someone. If you reduce a rate for one person, it's against the Constitution. So every time this comes up, I say this. I feel like I need to say it again.
I'll amend my request then, and I'll amend it for anyone for the rest of the 2019 or 2020 calendar year. And then it would be constitutional. Thank you.
Okay. Dennis, are you okay with that? You seconded.
I am. I just want to comment. I really have great respect for Mary, our county attorney, but I find that her take on this is disturbing. I mean, every situation is different. you've got to look at the situation and determine whether or not you want to charge them more or less or charge them nothing. I don't think that's a precedent. I think that's doing our job, looking at each individual event and charging accordingly. So I disagree. I think we can do this and not be held to it at a later date unless somebody has reasonably close proximity to the same conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Supervisor Shepler.
What is the cost to the county? I understand the cleaning of the bathrooms and that sort of thing, but what is the actual cost to the county? And can we charge that for the thing?
Well, the county reimburses the village. You have village employees that do a lot of the work. This comes through Parks O&M Committee. The Parks O&M Committee for next week, there's an agenda item on there that Superintendent Hajos is bringing. They're out of money this year. We already have a situation where we've spent more money than we've taken in. Now, part of that reason is because there were, I believe, $20,000 of expenses from 2019 that were carried over into 2020. Once you do that once, and I'm not sure going back whether we've done that before or whether that was a first-time thing, when you do that once, you ought to correct it, or else you're going to have to do it every year. You're going to have to perpetuate that. So that's part of the issue as to why we're under budget. The other part of the issue is that there have not been enough events with enough revenue to cover the expenses this year. So that's where the piece on whether it's constitutional or not comes in, because at the end of the day, it's taxpayer resources doing the work required to prepare the site and to clean the site, and you want to have some equity in how you reimburse that among the host of events that use the site.
Mary, so I guess my question is, if this person who is looking to rent this space has already agreed to the $500 rate, then why are we looking to reduce it?
I can maybe speak to that as well. The individual that hosted this event was not actually here to present the request. It was presented on her behalf. And when the committee, as Supervisor McGowan mentioned, when the committee initially discussed the event, the committee, at least several members on the committee, put it out there, is $500 too much? Could this event use a lower event rental price? And the answer that the person presenting on her behalf was no, the $500 is fine. That may not have been an accurate representation of her position, and she was not there to represent it herself. So I think that is part of why we're having this discussion today.
Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Supervisor Dickinson's comments as far as looking at individual initiatives on a case-by-case basis. But as someone who has attended a ton of fundraisers and supported those, as well as been part of a planning committee for those types of events, analyzing and assessing what constitutes a need as far as and what deserves more relief from a higher amount versus what doesn't is a major undertaking and will take a lot of discussion and is initiative A, deserving of spending $250, B, $50, C, $500. There's going to be a lot of debate. I don't know how you assess that. People come in and present their position on that, but the work that is involved with that. It's going to take a lot. I understand the constitutionality that Mr. Sain has brought up, but it's not cut and dry as far as assessing what is more important, what is more deserving of some relief. So, thanks.
Supervisor McGowan, I believe you had.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick one. If that's the case, we're going to go out to 50. I mean, can we Can we say something, and plus, you know, the expenses that the town or county has to be, you know, being reimbursed for the cleaning and stuff like that? I mean, it's still got to be cheaper than $500 a day. How many days?
8.
8 days?
No, 8 days gone, 22 days. It's $11,000.
So, for cleaning?
No, I'm just saying what would come in at $5 a day.
No, 50.
500.
At 500 a day.
I'm sorry, yes.
But, you know, I agree, but we should cover at least our costs. I mean, it's just a suggestion, but,
Thank you.
Supervisor Wild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a thought, different way of looking at this. We talk a lot about being stewards of taxpayer dollars. This was agreed to at $500 a day. If we reduce it to $50 a day, are we not in effect donating $450 a day to a charity not of our choice with taxpayer dollars? Different way of looking at this. I agree that we want to support activities happening, but if we reduce this to $450 a day and the proceeds are going to charity, are we not in effect basically making a charitable donation? Thank you.
okay. Supervisor Garrity.
Well, I thought we already had a clause in that, at that park where when we had a not-for-profit coming in, there was a different rate. Is that not, didn't we do that in the past? I believe we did, because Mayor Blaze used to come to us with that in the past. I mean, yes, no?
Yes, we did, Kevin, but according to the attorney, that's not legal by doing certain people certain price.
But I thought we established a rate for a not-for-profit versus somebody for-profit. No, we didn't do that. I wasn't here when this came up. So I'm in the blind. Okay, that's I thought we already did.
I'll make one more suggestion. I mean, and I agree, maybe it's a lot of money, and why don't we just leave it at 5? Whatever our expenses are should be taken out of what we get, and the rest can go to the young lady to do what she wants with it. You know, this way everybody's settled. Because if you don't get something in, the mayor is going to bill the county for this, and would not be able to pay them. I mean, because you got to understand, I think it's 22 days, so there's going to be people there for 22 days, keep the bathrooms clean, keep and the lights on at night to the point that they need them on, and people there to work it. So, that's just my.
Okay, I think everyone understands the issue, and
Frank?
we have an amendment on the floor. Is this to do with the amendment?
Yes.
And I think I have the opportunity to speak up to twice on this.
Go ahead.
Right? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 things. One, I think it was a simple text or an email that we needed to ask Kevin Hajos. He's pulling up the information right now. It is cost that is billed to us from the Village of Lake George. So if everyone wants to be patient, I'm sure we can find that answer out. But more importantly, I don't, even if we need to table it to go back to committee to have a discussion about this, I'm fine with that, with needing more information. But I really want to address an issue, and that's she was not invited to attend. We all talk about communication on this board, but we didn't communicate with her at all about when it was being discussed. So she wasn't there. And I understand the mayor advocated on her behalf, but I think that things got lost in translation. She didn't even know what was going on. So again, perhaps this is an opportunity that we could ask, if you want to bring it back to committee, we can bring it back to committee, but I'm going to ask that she be notified and we talk about this. And if the issue about constitutionality, I think let's have a discussion about it then on a different agenda item on personnel, and let's get this resolved, because we should be helping people in our community, period. By the way, it's $14 per hour for 2 or 3 attendees, or attendants, depending on the number of people. And I don't know the restrictions around this event and if people are walking around or not, or driving through. But this is, again, another good example of, I don't know why we're not talking about it at tourism, at OCTAX, and at Park and Rec. Right, so that we all can communicate on this issue. Mr. Chairman, the choice is yours, what you'd like to do with the amendment or the table or whatever you want to do.
Well, just a point of order. There's an amendment on the floor. It's been moved and seconded.
Okay.
And we're going to vote on it. So, and the amendment is to reduce it to $50 for this event per day and for all events till the end of the year, the end of 2020. No. We're going to vote on the amendment. Then if somebody wants to change something afterwards, that's fine.
Is there a roll call?
We absolutely can have a roll call. Go ahead.
Right. Mr. McDevitt?
No.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
No.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
No.
Mr. Simpson?
No.
Ms. Hogan?
No.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Molino,
No.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
No.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
No.
Ms. Shepler?
No.
Mr. Garrity?
No.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Don't have enough information. No.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
No.
That the vote only achieved 480 votes, so the motion fails.
Frank?
Supervisor Brader.
Okay, thank you.
Are we still on 413 or are we?
Yeah, sorry, this is still on 13 since that motion failed. I mean, I don't see any other events happening. There's not a ton happening. I think we should be thanking this woman for holding something in the middle of winter, in the middle of the outdoors. We don't have Chris Kindle Market. I'm disappointed that we didn't go that direction with the amendment, but based on what Kevin Hajos informed us, the cost is like $224 a day. That's 2 attendants for 8 hours a day, which I don't even think it runs 8 hours, but whatever. I would suggest that we amend to $250 a day fee.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend resolution.
I'm going to second that.
413 to $250, seconded by Supervisor McGowan.
Discussion?
Briefly.
Frank?
What's the
Garrity.
day?
Frank?
What
Frank?
is it going to run?
It starts November 28th, which is 8 days from today.
Okay.
It goes through December 20th.
And what are the hours in operation?
The hours are going to be, I honestly can't answer that. I have to assume it's going to be late afternoon into the evening.
What are they doing? I don't even know what they're doing. You know, I even voted for it, but yet more commission. What is it?
It's decoration of trees all the way around the walking path of the festival.
So it's going to be like going through the park in Albany, like to the athletic, and you would they turn out and drive around. But these are going to be on foot.
They're on foot.
They social distance.
So that's the idea.
Yeah. Supervisor Dickinson.
Well, I can make it.
I
don't know.
Are they done? Has she applied for occupancy tax?
I have no idea.
There's no money.
Oh,
great.
Are you talking $1,000?
Wait a minute now.
$250 a day for 20 days? She's talking $5,000?
8 days.
So it starts in 8 days. It's 20 days long.
Oh, I'm sorry. I heard the
22 days.
What's going on?
I'll keep my mouth shut. Supervisor Wild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not a legal scholar by any means, but when I hear some action is not constitutional, I have concerns about that and the consequences associated with it. So if you may, I'd like to ask our county attorney, what are the consequences of us making this move that is, to a word, unconstitutional?
I guess my fear would be that someone else that paid a higher amount would come back and sue the county for whatever the difference is. Listen, you hired me to tell you what the legal consequences were. I don't, if you don't like them, I'm sorry, but.
So as a board, are we prepared for that? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm done.
Okay, Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, I was at that meeting, and to refresh everybody who wasn't at that meeting, beyond what is going to go down here for the tree lighting show and the walking path, it really sounds like an awesome show, and that's why it was really exciting to hear that someone wants to do something during this pandemic and stay with all the restrictions that we have to, and it was really going to fit. And at the $500, I thought it was way too much. I'm comfortable. Hey, we cut it right in half. We got to cover our costs. I understand that, but to answer Supervisor Dickerson's question, it was presented by Mayor Blaze, and he has no octax, and he said there is no money to
Took it away from him.
Huh?
I said, no kidding, you took it away from him.
Well, we're getting past that right now, but the whole point is he says, no, there is no money for that, so she's taking this all on her own, and I'm very pleased to say if we can pass the 250, and if that, I mean, it's cut in half, I'm happy with doing that, so, and.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Beatty.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. It's been interesting listening to all sides. I agree with number one. I agree with the fact that it could possibly open the county up to litigation. I doubt if it would, but we have to look at that in a serious light. Other organizations could say you're picking and choosing the rates not based on fairness and equity, so that's a possibility. I also think that this is a great event that she has proposed. It's a charity. Again, someone mentioned that, well, now we're supporting a charity and we're picking and choosing. That's correct also. But I would like to see it go forward, knowing that we have potential liability issues down the road with other organizations that contradict what we're doing here today from a rate standpoint. But I would support $250 that will cover the county costs per day for this event. So I'm compromising the best I see how, and it's not an easy path. This isn't black and white, so that's my position. I will support a $250 to cover the county costs. Thank you.
Supervisor Liggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can we get what the normal daily rate is for the rental, and then what the total sum would be for this event at the $250 for whatever number of days it will be open? And
I misspoke.
the hours that it's open.
Excuse me. I misspoke. It's in 8 days. It's 22 days long. Sorry.
Okay. And the regular daily rental rate for the Charles Wood Festival Commons is?
I recall $1,500.
15?
Yep.
Which
Second.
question?
Are you good?
So, so what are we looking at as on this proposal then? At the 250, is that 6,500? Am I doing that math right? 5,500, which would be equal to just under 4 days of normal rental.
Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you, Chairman. Can you tell, or someone tell me which other organizations paid for space this year and how much they paid this year, 2020, during the pandemic?
Yes, I believe the normal fee for the normal daily fee, I think, is $1,000. And I believe, and we changed it for everybody across the board mid-year in light of the pandemic to $500. Is that right? So if I could make a suggestion, if you think that $250 a day is fair for not just this event, but for all events for the remainder of the year, and we can review the rate again at the beginning of next year, if everybody thinks that that's a fair way to treat all remaining events that utilize Wood Park for the remainder of 2020, I think that would be a compromise solution here that takes care of everybody's concerns. And to answer the question about when it starts, first day is November 28th. It goes from 5 to 9 p.m. That's a Saturday, so it's that Saturday and Sunday. And then the remainder is the next 3 weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
4 weekends.
Right, 4 weekends.
Did anyone pay this year? Did anyone pay this year?
Everybody paid who used the park. Right, Kevin, am I wrong about that? Kevin Hajos?
Yeah, everyone used the park, but I don't know if we had a lot of park use this year. In fact, I was asking Betsy to pull it up. I don't think we had anybody use the park this year, to be honest with you.
So no one can sue us, is my point. No one,
No. You do it till the end of the year.
I am pretty sure we had. I'm pretty sure we had that park used early in the year before the pandemic came in. We would have to check those records. But the issue is whatever the rate is for any event is what the event pays. So if we change the rate in the middle of the year and we apply that standard to everybody, there shouldn't be any legal issue.
Right. Good.
Supervisor Hogan.
I think Ryan just addressed my concern. Thank you.
Thank you. The amendment as it stands is to reduce it to $250, however, it does not state through the end of the year. So whoever made the motion and the second.
I did, yes, I'll make the amendment to the amendment.
Okay, and the second? Mr. McGowan. Mr. McGowan?
Yeah, so I'll second the amended motions.
Okay. So
Move this forward. My battery's gonna go out here.
Any other discussion on reducing this fee for the remainder of the year to $250 per day?
Correct.
Okay, I'll call the question on the amendment to Resolution 413 to reduce it to $250 a day, and this affects all events till the end of the year. We'll do a roll call vote again.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud? Mr. Stroud?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Wild?
My head is spinning, yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Thank you very much, yeah.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Amendment passes.
Good. Thank you. Any other discussion on resolutions?
Chairman,
Yes, Supervisor Bramer.
did we talk about the budget already?
No, we had the public hearing, closed the public hearing. I'd like to thank the ladies for their comments. But yes, go ahead.
Okay, that's great, and I'm glad Supervisor Garrity said that we're going to work with Superintendent Hajos.
Yeah. I called him after their comments last meeting.
Okay, thank you. I do have a question on the budget and the salary schedule for our, some of the department heads. Does that reflect any increases, or did we hold everyone flat?
Everybody's flat.
But that wouldn't be on that schedule, right? Nobody in that schedule.
For the
is not-
department heads? Which schedule are you talking about? The one that's in your packet?
Yeah.
I believe everybody's saying the same. The salaries in our packet. The
Okay.
official.
Oh, yes, they're all the
Everybody's
same.
quiet.
Yeah,
437 is what I'm talking about.
that's right.
They're the
Okay.
same.
Thank you. Good job on the budget.
Thank you, Flavia.
Okay, anything from anyone else for any other resolutions?
Frank, you got it. Andrea Hogan.
I'm sorry,
Andrea Hogan.
Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to ask you to waive the rules to allow a resolution of intent to restore the 2019 funding of OCTAX to the towns immediately.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to waive the rules made and seconded. Let's do a roll call vote on that.
What's the amendment? What is the amendment?
Waiving the rules. Waiving the rules to, well, that's what we're voting on, waiving the rules. Bring resolution forward.
Okay, Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan? Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
No.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes. Supervisor Hogan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion for a resolution of intent to restore the 2019 funding to the towns for OCTAX as soon as possible.
As soon as possible, okay? Seconded.
Wait, immediately.
Okay. So the resolution is to restore the additional funding to the occupancy tax money to the towns immediately.
Yes.
Okay. And do we have a second? Dennis?
Second that.
Seconded by Supervisor Dickinson. Discussion on the proposed resolution. Yes, Supervisor Liggett.
Thank you. Show me the money. Can we have a table, a chart? This is coming out of occupancy tax fund balance. How much is that amount totally? What is the distribution? Yeah, I'd like to see this laid out. How much is it totally? Do we have that amount? And yeah. So.
Supervisor Bramer.
They must know how much it is. How much is it, Andrew?
One of the, may I proceed, Chairman? Yeah, okay, thank you. I agree with Supervisor Leggett. I mean, one of the reasons that we held that money back for this year was because we didn't think we had the occupancy tax money to pay it out. I don't know where we stand. I understand your desire to have an intent put out there that the board would refund the money if I'm assuming that means if we have it in 2020 to give to you, the towns. And I certainly respect that the towns have things that they want to be doing with that money. I'd like a statement of intent that we're going to pass the septic inspection law, but I'm not sure the board is ready to go there. I also would like to see us, if we're going to pass this intent to restore the money, let's have it also include an intent to review the occupancy tax money and where we are going with this and a greater, a higher level review, a 40,000-foot review of what can we do with the money? We have a big chunk of occupancy tax money. Is there something that we can do that will provide us a better return on investment than the 2019 spending plan? I know you towns don't want to have the money taken away, and I get that, and maybe there's a way that we can mesh it all together. But if we're going to, I don't want to see us just hand this money back to the towns and then not do anything as far as an overall review of the best way that we can use our occupancy tax money. So if we're doing this statement of intent, I'd appreciate that to be included in everyone's minds, if not included in writing in the motion.
Okay, just to be clear, the resolution is to restore the money immediately, not a statement of intent. Yes, Supervisor Simpson.
Mr. Chairman, I could be wrong, and I think, Supervisor Hogan could clarify it, but I don't think anybody here on this board expects the county to, disperse occupancy tax if those funds are not in the current occupancy tax receivable. I think what is going on here is we've heard two different reasons why the op tax should be either taken away or reinstated. One is because the funds aren't there to be able to reimburse or give those contracts to the towns. And another one is because somebody may want to review how it's being spent. So there's different things being tossed around here. I think that we need to separate it. And I really think that the intent should be if those funds do prove out to come true as we budgeted, the town should be reinstated. And then there should be another conversation about how those funds should be used going forward. But those were contracts that were done early in the year. As I said, I don't think anybody expects the county to pay funds that they do not have. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a funny feeling this was going to be coming forward, and that's why I kind of asked our treasurer, Mr. Swan, if his comfortability. And if he is here, Mr. Chairman, I'd like him to get up and maybe help us with some more confidence with some funding figures, if that's all possible.
Without objection. Treasurer Swan.
Sorry, Michael.
I was trying to get the chairman's attention. I don't have a problem with restoring the funding if we have the money, okay? And right now, standing here, I can't say that we have the money. If you give me until the next board meeting, I can lay out the whole plan and tell you exactly whether or not we have the money to take care of the spending, the one that wasn't paid. If you would give me that, then we can know exactly where we're standing.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I think our treasurer just spoke, and I would like to see this put the rest until we have some more figures, but that's up to the rest of you.
Okay, Supervisor Waddle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Firstly, I am not in favor of this. Through this year's tourism season, we didn't have any events. So where did the money go? So I think we need to have a more strategic look, as though Supervisor Bramer said, in terms of where we need to go with this. We've talked about it. We haven't taken any action because so many people have opinions and they like their money. So what I'd like to do is put a motion to table this so it can go back to committee. We have time to talk about this again and see where we go. We can address the issues that, or the opportunities that Treasurer Swan may be able to give us also. So, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I'd like to make a motion to table this.
I'll second that.
Is this proper, the way we're doing this? We have a floor resolution and a motion to table?
Well, my attempts to gain your attention have preceded this by some significant amount of time.
That takes precedent. Okay, I just wanted to be clear. I wanted to do it the right way. Okay, we have a motion to table and a second.
Second.
That takes precedence. So discussion ends and roll call vote.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson? Mr. Dickinson?
I muted this.
The motion.
I think you know.
Mr. Dickinson?
What is the motion?
To table?
To table.
Just indefinitely table it. Not to table it and bring it back next month?
To table. Table it to committee, wasn't it?
No. No.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
No.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
I have a question. I know there's no discussion. It's regarding the motion to table.
Okay.
I know, I didn't go to law school. I'm not a lawyer. I do disagree, obviously, with the decision regarding the motion for tabling. But my specific question is, Mary, if it's a motion to table, we have 1 month to have it go back to committee. But this didn't come from a committee, so I have no idea where it's going back to. So what committee are we going back to?
You have 1 month to bring it back to this board,
Bring back to the board.
to the voting body.
Okay, so it certainly could be communicated, discussed in any one of the committees then if we chose to do that. Yeah, I still think this is a mess. I am a no on tabling.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Well, I'm a no, but let me just say, as far as I'm concerned, anyone that has any question regarding any expenditures relative to the town board, to the town of Bolton, they can attend the town board meeting. We hold public meetings every month, and if they have any questions, they can come there. And anyone that wishes to govern expenditure of funds in the town of Bolton from the county level is free to do so. I'm a no vote.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Further discussion on resolutions or roll calls? Okay, I do have a question myself on resolution 407. I see that we're applying for a 50-50 matching grant, but I don't see an amount that we're applying for. We have some kind of a ballpark figure of how much we're applying for?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Your department.
I know, I can't remember the amount. If our intention through the committee was to apply for the grant, I don't remember how much it was.
I'm gonna check my email, Claudia, and see if Chris Belden emailed me at all about it. Just bear
Okay.
with me.
I mean, we, I think it was an up to something amount, and we weren't sure if we were going to get it. We were still going to bring it back to committee and formulate a plan about actually using the money, because there is a county match.
Right.
So all we're doing right now is just applying. I'm sorry, I don't know the numbers. I feel like it might have been 20,000.
Okay.
It looks like it may have been 10,000. He said he developed a work plan and a budget that would allow us to get to the minimum grant amount of 10,000 that could be accomplished within a 1-year window. But if that 10,000 is referring to the amount of the grant, then the amount of the overall project would be 20.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't want it to be 300,000. Thank you. Any public comment on our proposed resolutions today?
Not at this point, no.
Okay, thank you. Vote on resolutions.
Okay, resolution 403, making supplemental appropriations. Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan? Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild? Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yeah.
Mr. Beatty? Mr. Beatty?
Sorry, yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 404, making, amending Warren County budget for 2020. Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild? Absent. Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 426, awarding bid and authorizing agreement with Lake Placid Advertisers Workshop. Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
No.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
No.
Mr. McGowan?
No.
Ms. Seaver?
No.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
No.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 428, amending table of organization and Warren County salary and compensation plan for 2020. Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
No.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 429, authorizing appropriation of funds from the Rehab County Buildings Reserve to the buildings budget to fund the purchase of a generator. Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 430, increasing capital project H372, first wilderness plan implementation. Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 432, approving and adopting the Warren County Sewer District Industrial Park Assessment Roll for 2021. Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 433, adopting budget for fiscal year 2021. Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
No.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Can I explain my yes
Go ahead now.
quickly?
Briefly.
I will vote for yes as long as I go on record that the DOE will be compensated for any money they might need due to the up and coming changes in elections. Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yeah.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 435, adopting salary and compensation plan for 2021. Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Weil?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver? Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. And we just need a collective on the rest.
Okay, collective on the rest of the resolutions. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No opposition. Any public comment, Don?
We did have one thing from Big Brother, Big Sisters of the Southern Adirondacks. They wanted to let everybody know that they are in need of some mentors for some big brothers for some youth in the Johnsburg area, northern Warren County, if anyone is willing to help out, or if anyone knows anyone up there who is willing to serve as a big brother, reach out to Big Brothers, Big Sisters of the Southern Adirondacks. And that's all we have for public comment.
Okay. Thank you. Privilege of the floor. Yes, Supervisor McGowan.
That's a good one, Jack. No, Peter, that was wonderful that you brought up there. I did follow with the insects being introduced to help our forest, which is greatly needed. It was really coming from Washington. It kind of scares me how it, but at least it's not a foreign insect that's coming in. It's from the other side of the states, but I'm happy for that. But no, and the algae bloom is really things that we need to focus on. But that was a great beginning speech. But that's all I got to say. That's enough. I can't speak. Move on.
I got the impression that the insect that was being introduced was actually initiated by Cornell University. So
yes.
that's
Yep. No, this was a great article, and I enjoyed reading it.
Yes, Supervisor Stroud.
Yes, I never got an opportunity to speak to the resolution 426 before, or the proposed from the floor resolution. But the thing about it is if you think this COVID thing, I think we're going to see the worst of it coming in January and February. But with the vaccine and with better care by the public, we might be able to lick this thing. In other words, we could be going into next summer looking pretty good. So that means we would like to encourage as many activities that have gone on before to, bring their efforts forward again, or new parties and new efforts. The one thing I don't want to say is people that come to me and want to do something to bring this place alive again next summer is, I'm sorry, I don't have the money. Well, if you don't have the money, then we can't do it. And okay, well, so you compound your problem. In other words, by taking away money now, you're probably going to cut some of the programs short that could have happened next summer and would have helped you make more money. So I think it's very short-sighted to trim the budget in terms of back tax to the municipalities in the way that they have. So I agree with Supervisors Dickinson and Conover, who as supervisors of their town, they see and they know what I'm talking about. So I didn't get a chance to convey that, but this is probably the worst year. You want to leave us short. Okay, I just have to say that piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Privileged floor to anyone else? Supervisor McGowan.
Yes, thank you. I feel like I'm on jibby jag. Maybe I had too much coffee today. Started early this morning, but hit the mute button. And Kevin probably hit the mute button right there, but I disconnected that contact underneath his tea tray. But no, I just wanted to say, it's very nice to see so many people here today, and I think we had some great discussions. And we're coming up onto a new year, and we got a lot of things coming. But I really do think, and I'm pushing for it, is that I want to see more people in here. We need to get back in here together. And if you have to wear a full bodysuit with oxygen, to feel comfortable, then please do that. But I think we all need to be back together because this is what we need. And this is going to be keep the immunity on our board and stop playing around like when I'm trying to discuss. Thank you very much. And that's it for me today.
Thank you, but I don't swear to that.
Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Wild, I dare you to move over here and move my microphone. I wanted to say thank you for the lengthy debate regarding the festival commons. I did attempt to address this prior to the board meeting. I did send emails. I did call. I did look into it. And also took the time to meet with the event organizer. So please know that that's not something that's coming off the floor in a last minute attempt. I think the communication is vital. I'm happy to share that information with anyone, but I just sent an email asking for clarification on our rules of the board and Robert's rules. Mary, I sent this, I copied every supervisor, and I would very much appreciate a reply in writing prior to our next board meeting. And it specifically addresses the differences between our board rules and Robert's rules, and also how a motion to table is to be utilized. Again, I can Google something, but it doesn't make me a lawyer. I get it, but I think we all have some difference of opinion. So if that could be addressed, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Administrator Moore.
If I could just add to that piece as an aside, the request that we have gotten several times for training. I have reached out to NISAC a couple of times on it. The last time we spoke about it, they thought that they had identified an appropriate person to come in and do a training for anybody who's interested. They didn't get back to me. That was about a month ago. I'll follow up with them again today.
Thank you.
Supervisor Conover.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to thank Supervisor Hogan for stepping forward with a waiver Rule 6 on that intent resolution. Yeah, much appreciated, Andrea. And Supervisor Strau for his remarks. All I ever wanted was, and we're all prepared to do our fair share to bring the occupancy tax budget into balance. We ripped up our contracts, and we had contracts, oh, by the way, for funding. What was missing, what's always been missing, is how and when that funding is going to be reinstated. And we've been asking and wanting meetings, and nothing's been happening. And so that's the question that I'd like to have answered. If you don't want to restore all of it, restore half of it. Restore 60%. Restore 70%. That's all we're asking, is that how and when is it going to be restored? Now, apparently there are some, in order to get that question answered, that also expect municipalities to jump through some kind of hoops. Now, I don't know. We'll deal with those issues when we need to deal with those issues. But I would hope, Dennis, that your committee could address the fundamental question of when and how much at your next committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one quick comment, if I can. The most important thing I take from Supervisor Seaver's parliamentary questions, and I think this is really important, when a motion is made which has the practical effect of limiting discussion, I really disagree with that. And I've heard some interpretations on the tabling motion where, in effect, it's, we have a table motion in the second, there is no discussion. So that's where I have a problem, and I think Rachel, I think does a service to us trying to at least get a definition of is the intent of the motion just to limit discussion of fellow board members, and I hope it's not. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dare I say announcements? Oh, sorry, Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the beginning of the pandemic, as we headed into the summer, it was all hands on board for OCTAX, for tourism, for Economic Development, discussing how we were going to continue through our summer tourist season and promote healthy economic activity. I just want to remind you all that right now we're headed into winter, and that's the season up here in the northern part of the county. And I'm not hearing from everybody that same laser focus on how we're going to continue safely, but also productively. Over the next couple of weeks, as we have committee meetings, I just encourage you all to remember that we're just entering our season now. Thank you.
I can see that in the background.
Thank you. Supervisor Driscoll?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I will be quick. Tomorrow, the North Country Ministry will be distributing Thanksgiving baskets in Warrensburg, North Creek, and at the North Warren YMCA facility. The Salvation Army will be doing their distribution program this coming Monday and Tuesday. Both of those organizations, I believe, have their cutoff for Christmas time programming at the end of next week or shortly after Thanksgiving week. And then also the Home Energy Assistance Program began on November 2nd. Individuals can find out more information from our Department of Social Services or for our senior constituents through the Office for the Aging. Thank you.
Thank you. Barry?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're going to have to cancel the Christmas and Warford, most of the Christmas and
Can't hear
Warford for December 6th and 7th. Also, on the 22nd, which is this Sunday, our farm company puts in a free dinner for the seniors in Warford. And this year we saw a drop-off in a number of people. It's takeout only, because I usually come sit at the firehouse and we feed them. This year it's takeout only, but we saw a drop-off of about 100 dinners, and I think it's because of the pandemic, people don't want to come out. So we are trying to watch what we do, and it's unfortunate that we have to cancel events, but it's the best thing for the community to not add to the spread. So we're all in it together, and I agree about the events for next year. We got to look at it, and I do think that I say 2 or 3 times in my presentations that if the absentee tax didn't kick up, we would try to sit and talk about it. I don't understand the selective thinking or memory that some have, but I mentioned it during my budget discussion, and I mentioned it here on my desk a couple times. If absentee tax rebounded, we would look at it. But apparently some people have selective memory. So, and I'll reiterate it one more time. If absentee tax does rebound, I'm willing to look at it for 2021. I do know that people just got their checks in October for this year, so I don't think anybody's broke.
Okay, further announcements? I'd like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Be safe, and a motion to adjourn.
So moved.